Alright, so we got a 2001 Chevrolet Silverado 1500 5.3 liter engine. Water pump's leaking, and the water pump's leaking right up top here. Whenever I fill it up, it just pours out of the top, kind of on the back side top. So we're going to put a water pump on it, and you could probably do this without removing the shroud, but the shroud is super easy to remove. You've got 2 bolts on either side, a couple bolts here, and then the upper part of the shroud will lift off. So we're going to take the upper part of the shroud off. One of the tricks that people, or one of the problems that people have sometimes, is getting these fans off. The trick, or one trick, is to keep the belt on it while you break the fan loose. And we'll see. And even then, that's no guarantee that it's not going to spin. But we'll see. We'll see how tough this particular fan is going to be. So let me get set up here, and we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to pull these clips off down here on the radiator shroud. These are just those plastic kind of rivets. Then you got 2 bolts right there. So let me get this camera mounted back up. If you don't have a pair of these, I'll put a link to them. Very handy. First thing you want to do is make sure your clutch fan is in good shape. It shouldn't spin freely, so when you turn it, see how it kind of comes to a pretty quick stop. Make sure that happens, because if you need a fan, then or a clutch, then this will be the time to replace it. And where's the tensioner at? Okay, so I just hit it a couple times with the air hammer to loosen it up, and it kind of knocks it free. But I did use a custom-made brass punch. You could probably just use a hammer and a punch. But what that does is that just breaks it loose so that you can finish spinning it off there. And that's what you got. Okay, go ahead and take the belt off. I always try to look at the belt really good to see if I can remember how to put it back on. Also a good idea to take a picture of it, because as soon as you think that you remember it, you learn the hard way that you forgot it. Always look at the belt, make sure it's not cracked. The AC belt is cracked, but he doesn't want to replace it. I don't even know if the AC works on this truck, so maybe why he doesn't want to replace it. Alright, now there is a cluster of hoses on this side. This hose, and this hose got to come off. Then of course the upper hose, and you can see how long it's been leaking. In fact, you can actually see it dripping right there. But you can see how it's been leaking and slinging coolant. Actually, the only thing that's in this truck is water. He's been driving it like this, and it's just been getting worse and worse, so he finally wants to replace it. So I'm going to get some tools to get these hoses off. They're all spring clamps, and then we'll get started removing the water pump. Okay, so I'm just going to use some hose clamp pliers and you can probably just use regular pliers, but if you want a good set of hose clamp pliers, I'll put a link to the kit that I've got. And it makes this kind of work really easy. Yeah, you can see that he's been running straight water for a long time. Look at this. I mean, that thing is rusted like nobody's business. That's the problem with running straight water, is that over time you end up getting major rust. So this idler pulley needs to come off, and it's also a good idea to spin all the pulleys. You can see how quiet this one is, and there's no play. This tensioner pulley's got a little bit of play, and you can hear it spinning, which tells you that the bearing is starting to get old. Two long ones, one short one. Alright, so now you can see pretty much everything that you need to see. Give them a set of pliers. depending on how these clamps are positioned, this little unit here comes in really handy. And again, I'll put the description of this kit that I got, because it will save you a lot of frustration. This kit also comes with these little spreaders. That helps you push those hoses off. Okay, now I think we're just down to the water pump. I don't know if the new one, some of the new water pumps have the thermostat, some don't. More than likely, in fact, while I'm here with my impact, we'll just go ahead and zip that off. $10mm. And not as bad as I was expecting it to be. Six 10mm bolts. And you're done. You break these loose real quick. I'm going to go back to that one because it is not feeling very good. And that's what I thought. That one broke. you don't have one of these indexable pry bars, I'll put a link to one. I don't know how many times this has saved me. The head pivots to wherever you want, and it telescopes. This is what happens when all you do is run water for however long he's been running water. What the problem with this water pump is it's completely rotted through. Yep. So I heated this stud, broken axis, I guess it's a broken bolt, turned into a stud after the head twisted off, and I just heated it up and clamped some vice grips on it, and it's coming now, so I just got to reposition my vice grips. Get that off. That's something you may run into, especially if you've been running water only. So I highly recommend that you not run water for very long. Do yourself a favor and clean the bolts up. I just hit them on a wire wheel, but it'll make your life a lot easier when you're going back together. And I'm going to run a tap through all these holes. Little tip. Makes it a lot easier to clean out holes if you hook the tap to a drill. You just want to make sure you go in straight. Go in slow and straight till you know that it's grabbed the right threads. I can't get straight on those. Those are just going to have to go. A couple tips. So this style water pump, or actually this year, make, and model, has a couple different thermostat types. One uses an O-ring, like this one does. Others use the old style gasket. So make sure that if you've got the O-ring style thermostat housing, which has got the groove in it, made for the O-ring to sit down into it, use the O-ring. If it's just flat, you're going to use the gasket. If you use a gasket, put a thin layer of RTV on both sides whenever you bolt it together. If you're using the O-ring, no RTV required or recommended. Now, there's also a couple different gasket types for the back of the water pump where it mates to the block. This has got the metal gaskets with the impregnated O-ring. You do not use RTV with this style gasket, but you do need to make sure that the surface of the block is completely clean so that these O-rings, so what happens whenever you tighten the bolts up, it sandwiches down to the thickness of this piece of aluminum, and that puts the perfect amount of pressure squeeze on the O-ring to seal it up and prevent it from leaking. If you've got a buildup of old gasket material, it's going to prevent that, and you're going to have the possibility that the O-ring's not going to seal up. So no RTV with the metal gaskets, no RTV with the O-ring. Do use RTV with the gasket. And make sure that your O-ring is in the groove properly whenever you put the thermostat together. You don't want to pinch it, is I guess what I'm saying. And again, these O-rings, you know, they pinch down, they compress, so you don't have to really torque down on anything that's got an O-ring seal. And of course, you know, it's just my luck. I pull this out of the box, and this outlet is dented. Now, that shouldn't be a problem. This little ridge right here just prevents whenever the clamp is around the fitting right here, it prevents that hose from sliding off. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this. I'm going to put the hose on. It's going to be clamped right here, and it's not going to be able to slide off, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be fine. Do I like it? No, but I don't want to drive all the way back to the auto parts store and get another one. I use this Permatex thread sealant on the bolts. Whoever put these in, the reason that one broke is that they had some kind of sealant that they had used, and it is almost like Loctite. So with the corrosion and stuff, along with that thread sealant that they used, it made it hell getting the bolts out. So, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to put all these in but one, and then I'm going to go buy another bolt. And it may not look like it, but if you run your finger across that, it is clean. I've done that to both sides. So that should be good. So let me get set up here, and we're going to start going back together. Now I'm just going to run these in at the impact. And then whenever I get back with the, I've got to take one of those bolts to match up another one. Whenever I get back, I'll put those two in. We'll snug it up, and this will be done. But while I'm here, I want to go ahead and get these all hooked up. I'll do this one last. Wait till the fan's back in. So right now, I think I'm ready to go get the bolt. So let me run up to the store. I'll get the bolt. Be right back. Alright, and just like that, got a bolt. I tried to get a flange bolt, but the longest one they had only went up to about right here. So I went ahead and got a regular bolt. I'm going to stack a couple washers on it, and hopefully we can get by with that. And I just remembered that I didn't put my thread sealant on the thread, so you guys let me forget that. So we're going to get our thread sealant. That one. Now I don't think this engine needs thread sealant. Some cars do, because the holes go all the way into the water jacket. But just to be on the safe side, we're going to put thread sealant. On here. That bolt might be too long. Need some washers. So one of the benefits of owning a lathe is you can custom make spacers and stuff on the fly when you need it. Alright, so there's all the bolts, all the bottom hoses. We got to put the belt on, don't we? See if we can remember how to do that. I guess we need the idler pulley. Let's see here. And what I found is if you can get to a pulley that's the smallest pulley of the bunch, usually the alternator, that's usually the easiest one to get it going around. And I'm off a couple grooves down here on the bottom. Yeah, come on now. Okay. That must not be right. That should be going on, and it is not. So let me see. This is what I mean. This way you should always take a picture. thought that was the way I was going. Alright. Alright, so the fan is next, then the upper shroud. Just double look at everything. Make sure everything turns all right. And then put the rest back together. once I let it fully warm up, I will make sure that it's got the proper amount of coolant. Make sure there's no leaks, and call her done. Anyway, 2001 Chevrolet Silverado, 5.3 liter engine. You guys take care.